Hi.
Hi, nice
It's
to be
so
on the
good
other
to
side of the camera.
I know, and I'm not usually on the camera at all because I'm behind the scenes. And for the people that don't know, I'm Donna Tefft, and I work for Pinehills LLC. And we are filming our next episode of Wednesday Unwind, and we thought it would be really fun since we work so closely with Parker and Cap on some of the shows that they've done at the Pinehills to turn the table and find out a little bit more about you and your life and what you do when you're not doing what you're supposed to do, which is the question that we always ask everybody at the Pinehills. So I think I will ask you that in a minute. But you know, after so many months of not being able to be together, I mean, not seeing you guys as we normally would, it's just great to be able to be distanced and still be able to chat together and just reconnect, actually.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. And it's nice to, it's just nice to see you again and nice to chat. And of course, the time during the lockdown when we couldn't see people face to face, couldn't have dinner parties, couldn't hug, which is, you know, huge for me. It was challenging. It was challenging for sure, but we're getting through it, and it's the new normal, and we all adapt. We're, as humans, greatly adaptable, which is good.
It is good.
But it's nice to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course.
So one of the things that is just always amazing to me is that, you know, your job takes you to meet lots of people, you know, and you're inside all these different homes. And one thing that you do, and I've watched you do it with us a couple of times, is you just break down the barrier of being on television in such a sweet way. And how do you do that? I mean, is that something that you learned?
You mean for the homeowners?
Yeah, like how do you get people to just open up? Was that something you learned through being on television, or is it something that it's just you?
Well, I don't have any self-consciousness on television myself. So I think I try to inform them that it's just a camera, and what we really want is a conversation. And I think once we start talking, a lot of times the homeowners will say, "Are we interviewing yet?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we've done a whole show. We've done a whole show. It's been great." But yeah, no, I don't know if I learned it, but my goal is always to be as organic as possible, as natural as possible, as unscripted as possible. And I think people are at their best when they're like that. And so my goal is always to get that from them. And I think with my ease on it and the way that I approach them and the way that I act as though they're my friends from 25 years ago who can't wait to show me their home and I can't wait to see it, it's really not that far from the truth, really.
Well, it is.
I mean, I haven't met them yet. But I really feel like there is a connection between all people. We have more in common than we don't. And that you're only one person away from being my dentist's daughter. You're only one person away from being my sister-in-law. So I really look at everyone as though they're family and friends, and I've always done that. And so I think, you know, part of it is just my personality type, and then I think part of it is just the organic process that we have, where I don't allow them to overthink it. You know, just be natural. Just chat with me like you would. A friend coming to visit.
Did you always want to be in television or broadcasting, or did you always want to be a storyteller?
I would say the latter. I've always been a storyteller. Television is just the medium that I use. I had no intent, as some do, of, oh, I want to be famous, or, oh, I need to be on display. For me, it was always stories. I think about children when they're little. I think if you can allow and encourage and not get in the way of children, then they show you their true colors right around the age of 4, 5, 6. And for me, when I played with my Barbies, which I did all the time.
I did too.
Yeah, and by myself a lot.
Oh
which
yeah,
was
I was
fun.
an only child. I am an only child.
Yeah. So, well, and I had a brother, and, you know, his trucks could come in and knock down my
Knock down the dream house.
Yeah, exactly. But when I would play with the Barbies, I would have conversations, I would tell stories, they would fly. I could care less about what they were wearing. I think, honestly, Skipper wore the same exact tankini. It was orange, I'll never forget it. But it was like a tankini, which are kind of cute now, but, you know, back then it was just, Skipper was Barbie's, I don't know if you're familiar, but Skipper.
I had Skipper.
Yeah, I related to Skipper because she was more of a tomboy, which I was. And, you know, she had bangs and straight hair, and she had this orange tankini and shorts, and she was just very... she just wasn't fussy. Like Barbie was a little
She
bit
was
more
the
fussy.
antithesis of who Barbie
Yeah,
was.
I mean, Barbie had the high heel shaped feet, and Barbie had the Barbie body, and Skipper was just more regular.
That's right.
And I would just make them play and talk and stories, and my plots were thick, and I added characters, and I had settings, and I write poetry, and I paint, and pretty much everything I do is creative, but it's through whatever modality I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, television is the modality that I've been doing. So I am a storyteller first.
Yes, you are.
And television just happens to be the medium that I tell stories through.
So it wasn't something that you studied in college or,
Well, I did work in a news station in college. I actually wanted to go get my doctorate in dramaturgy.
Oh.
So I had a humanities major, which is all about people, which I love people. I've always been interested in people.
Which is what you do.
Yeah, I think in school I was voted friendliest, so I've always been, a people person. So I always knew I wanted to do something with people, but I loved reading contemporary drama. I loved reading the existentialists, and I loved analyzing their conversations. So I love, stripped away from all the narrative of a lot of stories, I love just the dialogue. So the spoken word, which you have in television, is just like music to my ears. I absolutely love it. And so I didn't think I wanted to do TV, but I did take classes in linguistics I love, philosophy I love, dramaturgy I wanted to do, and then I had a newsroom internship.
Okay.
And so I worked in news, and I didn't really want to do news because I love more lifestyle stuff. I mean, our show's pretty soft, right? It's a pretty soft show. I'm not trying to like break any news stories. I'm not trying to create drama. It's not anything, hard. It's really soft. It's lifestyle, and that's really where I feel more comfortable. It's a feature. I want to bring out people's best and showcase their best, and I'm not really looking to find what's under their closet or whatever.
Right. There's always something. But
Yeah.
we don't always need to know.
I don't need to know it, and I just think it's a format that people like. They can relate to it. I have people say to me, even if I couldn't afford this particular house, let's say, or even if I don't live in this particular area, I found something in the homeowner that resonated with me, and that always makes me really happy because I really do feel that there's something to learn from everyone, and that we can get that when we go, and when we
you
meet,
do.
and we talk to people, we can find or inspiration from the show, which I get with my own home, and I get all the time. I get little bits of their conversation into my mind of like things I think about, and I also get ideas just for my own home and my own life. I love to see how people live. We have 100 years if we're lucky. It really is fascinating to me what you do with those 100 years.
Yes.
I mean, I love it. How you live, what you love, who you love, what you love. Those are like the key tenets of our show, because I care about how people are using these 100 years. It's fascinating to me, really.
It is.
And how they got there. I think a lot of people think, occasionally, not often, but occasionally I'll get somebody say, "Oh, it must be nice." Occasionally, really rarely. But the people I meet, I would say most, if not all, don't roll out of bed one day and just have a beautiful life. They've curated it. They have love. They have pain. They have loss. They have cancer. They have things like everyone else does. But it's your attitude. So much of it is in the attitude. These people that I meet, their attitude is, even though they've had some hard times, and they have. I've heard the stories. I don't always used to say them on the show. I've heard them. They're making the best out of their life. They're believing that they can, and they do. I think that should be inspiring.
It is inspiring. And today, having a show like Home Life and Style on, it's a breath of fresh air after everything else that, you see. You turn the channel and it's more of the same, right?
Yeah.
So we need it. And it's great to have local, and there's so little local anymore. So bravo to you all for keeping that going.
Thank you. Thank you, Pinehills. Great partners since the beginning to believe in us.
It's been fun. It's fun for us too. So we appreciate it. So speaking of home, we're in your brand new home here in Hull.
Yes.
And I know you're going to be doing a show about that, so we won't talk about that now. But is South Shore your home, or tell us a little bit about home?
Well,
where was home?
I was born
to
in
you?
Boston, and I was raised on the Cape. So I'm a beach girl, and again, the Cape is really not fussy. It's it's pretty much bare feet and sand. But with the Cape comes a lot of transients, a lot of travelers, a lot of influx. So I think I have a lot of influence from growing up on the Cape. And then I did live away. I lived in Virginia. I worked for PBS in Virginia, and then I worked and lived in Seattle for a while. I had my children out in Seattle on the West Coast. And but then I moved back, and when I moved back, I thought, okay, halfway between Boston and the Cape, the South Shore. Now, for me, honestly, when I was growing up, my Grammy lived in Arlington. My parents were from Arlington, and so we would go from the Cape, Route 3, to Arlington. And to me, Route 3, I never really even noticed the signs of the towns.
Me either.
Yeah, it
I
was
would just
like,
head to the Cape, and then it's like, are we through Plymouth yet?
yeah. So for me, it was like the Cape to Boston, and then that's just the road. And then when I moved back, I thought, oh, I started researching it. I said, oh my goodness. So I first lived in Duxbury, and then I lived in Hanover, and then I lived in Hingham, and now we moved to Sunset Point and Hall. So I've been here for 20 years, since 2000.
So it is home.
So.
Well, they're happy to have you here, I'm sure. And I guess I think a lot